understand more about the ecological and consumer economic effects of the Fukushima nuclear wastewater discharge. We're joined by Zhiqin. He's a senior fellow at the Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies of the Renmin University of China. And Mr. Liu, what effect has Japan's decision to release the nuclear wastewater into the ocean had on the local fishing industry?
I think in the past week, the whole world and the global market has closely saw what happened in Japan when the discharging of the contaminated water in the ocean. I think the local fishermen are the first line that to be that afraid of losing their market. We see that so many protesters and also many meetings and conferences held that to fight against such a decision made by the Japanese government. So the local fishermen, when the local fishermen or local fisher industry is not uncertain, is not sure that whether the security of this discharged water, this is the most important and confident evidence that to see that this is really a big problem when they discharge such water. We know that this is the first such kind of action in the human being because of its size, its volume, and its uncertain consequences. From the three factors really impacted the local fishermen. We are sure that the Japanese fisher industry and the fishermen will be firstly and heavy impacted and influenced by such actions.
In what ways is the wastewater discharge affecting the economies of neighboring countries? We see strong protests from South Korea.
I think in two ways. The first way is the psychological, because many people are not sure or still uncertain that such a problem will last several years or even decades to see the heavy consequences. This is very important because psychological effect is more important than the physical effect. The physical impact, that means that tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, they can feel some problem or disease, but it is not sure, it's not true. But so we need a lot of time to be tested. So in this way that the surrounding countries, neighboring countries will still wait and see, because we need a lot of high technology to monitor, to supervise, to control, and even from the healthcare will come up with new technologies and equipment. So this is a very important challenge for all countries. So we'll influence all these countries from the seafood or seafood-related industry, transportation, for healthcare, for instance, also education even included influence. So we should say that could have a very great potential negative impact on the neighboring countries' economy.
Japan's discharge of nuclear wastewater would span for many years. What magnitude of impact is it imposing on Japan's overall economy and its global reputation?
I think this deal, if I say in this way, that this deal that is not clever, not so clever as the Japanese has done before. They have provided so good house apparatus and electricity to the whole world. But nowadays they're doing something wrong because the discharge of the contaminated water will damage the health system and the mechanism all over the world. So the reputation for the Japan will be really seriously damaged because of the distrust, because nobody will not trust the Japanese decision, whether they are really doing things that are for the good sake of the human being. They are so selfish because they could not listen and follow the instructions and the suggestions of the global community. So the reputation from Japan will be further damaged, and very negative impact will still have to be taken place in the consideration, because since the Second World War and the Japanese try to, especially to rebuild its image, to try to become a normalized country. But nowadays they are doing the things not in a normalized way or normalized status. So that's why that makes Japan even in a more difficult situation and the position in the world.
Thank you very much for your opinion on that. Liu Zhiqin for us. He's a senior fellow at the Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies at Yunmin University of China.